If you read the 38th chapter of the Quran, Surah Ṣād, expecting a collection of standard theological parables, you will miss its primary function. The text is constructed as a highly technical validation manual, designed specifically to audit high-level system administrators. These audits do not take place in a vacuum. They occur in baseline environments defined by heavy systemic stress, immense physical pressure, and operational failure. To signify this environment, the text opens with a single, isolated Arabic letter, Ṣād. This acts as a systemic metadata header. It sits at the top of the program, loading a strict set of validation protocols to evaluate the human nodes. This diagram illustrates the first component, Ṣidq, or veracity, the exact mathematical alignment between internal data and physical manifestation. The second component is Ṣabr, structural integrity, the capacity to maintain a geometric blueprint under a high-pressure load. Together, these form the Ṣād protocol. It operates as a continuous background process, scanning the administrator to ensure the human node is not operating with any internal displacement, a state typically translated as hypocrisy. The entire divine framework operates in absolute opposition to a specific failure state known as Ṣidq, which translates to splitting or fragmentation. Ṣidq is a structural break from reality. It represents a severe failure in the geometry of the node itself, disconnecting it from the objective baseline. To repair this failure, the system deploys the thicker, the unified reminder. This acts as a necessary software patch designed to restore and unify a fragmented operating unit. The Ṣād header provides the validation that this thicker software has been successfully installed and continues to function under heavy operational stress. The ensuing narratives in the chapter are empirical stress tests. They audit 3 specific administrators to guarantee they will not fracture under extreme loads of power, friction, and entropy. The first audit examines David. His baseline systemic trait is defined as alayed, or operational strength. The system introduces a sudden friction event. 2 litigants abruptly climb over David's wall, intentionally bypassing all standard security protocols and jarring the administrator. This is a strict judicial stress test. The objective is to measure whether the administrator reacts by following immediate personal impulse, categorized as desire, or by adhering to haq, the objective reality. David recognizes the nature of the event. He understands this intrusion is fitanahu, an intentional system audit deployed directly by the source to measure his calibration. He immediately executes the mechanism of anaba, turning back. David successfully recalibrates his node, realigning his cognitive process with the baseline software. Administrators must judge purely by objective truth. They must actively reject desire, as personal impulse is the primary cause of systemic deviation. David's successful audit establishes the baseline rule for the network. A validated node overrides immediate personal friction and emotional impulse by locking into the architecture of objective reality. The administrator proves capable of absorbing mechanical stress without allowing it to compromise his judicial output. The second audit targets Solomon. His baseline parameters involve the management of vast, high-energy resources and expansive dominion. His test centers on the display of horses. In a systemic context, these represent rapidly moving high-energy physical assets that consume the administrator's total processing bandwidth. The audit induces a near-failure state. Solomon's fascination with these moving assets temporarily blocks the thicker. The node loses sight of the source, obscuring it behind a veil of material distraction. Recognizing the drop in bandwidth, Solomon initiates his own recalibration protocol. He executes inaba, acknowledging that extreme wealth and military power are merely operational tools and telemetry data, never the power source itself. Solomon's subsequent request for a kingdom unlike any other is not born of ego. He is requesting a highly specific, uniquely aligned systemic configuration. This exact configuration ensures that absolute material power is flawlessly subordinated to the divine decree. It operates smoothly without generating operational friction. Chaotic, high-energy variables are stabilized into a managed, highly efficient system. Solomon's audit confirms that high-level assets must be treated strictly as operational tools pointing back to the source. If they become endpoints, they disrupt the network. The third and final administrator, Job, represents the ultimate extreme. This node is subjected to maximum environmental entropy and total physical decay. The text describes this as al-shaitan's touch, the active injection of noise, physical suffering, and material decay directly into the system. This audit measures a completely different metric than the previous two. It tests the capacity to survive total internal structural collapse, rather than the management of external resources or sudden judicial friction. This diagram shows the ultimate application of the Ṣabr protocol. Job maintains his original internal blueprint, despite massive cascading hardware degradation along his outer perimeter. The system finalizes its scan and returns a finding. Job is validated as an excellent servant. His internal data, his Ṣidq, remained entirely unaltered under extreme, sustained pressure. Because of this, Job earns the status of awab, the repeatedly turning node. This proves the continuous, unbroken background loop of the Ṣād header is functioning perfectly. Absolute structural integrity remains unbothered by aggressive external elemental erosion. Job serves as the ultimate empirical proof of the Ṣadād protocol. He is a fully validated node whose structural integrity operates completely independent of its failing physical casing. By zooming out from these three individual case studies, the overarching systemic law derived from the Ṣadād validation protocol becomes visible. This diagram models the theological axiom found in Surah 21. Multiple ultimate power sources mathematically guarantee structural ruin, a state known as fasad. The text openly mocks the human desire to maintain fragmented, multiple authorities. It diagnoses this specific desire as the root cause of shikak, the splintering of reality. Systemic oneness operates as the only mathematically sustainable configuration for reality. Any deviation from a single source introduces fatal errors into the framework. The decode, the unified reminder, is the essential software protocol required to enforce this singular configuration across all operating nodes. This framework perfectly defines the function of the final messenger within the network architecture. He is contrasted directly with the al-mutakallifin, the pretenders. These are unauthorized nodes that impose burdens, adding useless noise and friction to the network. The true messenger claims no personal power and requests no payment. He functions strictly as a clean, fully validated channel for transmitting the decode. The entire validation manual culminates in a single ideal, the awab, the turning node. The divine system expects friction. It does not demand administrators who never face stress or load. It demands administrators who, the exact millisecond friction occurs, immediately recalibrate their thinking center back to the source. All systemic load and friction resolve, ascending into pure objective reality. The Ṣād metadata header acts as the eternal signature of a divine system that constantly stress tests its own power structures, mathematically ensuring that human administration never devolves into dissension.